Hi, Parth.
Hello.
So, Maulik introduced us,
Yes.
mutual friend.
Yes.
Great guy.
Oh, amazing guy. Amazing guy.
Yeah. I'll eventually, hopefully, have him on as well. Because I think he comes from a family that they're into building,
Yeah.
and he himself chose a completely different path.
Which is very unusual.
You know,
Which is very unusual. And but so I think Malik would be great for a podcast because he too can speak. He's a guy that can talk.
that's true.
So yeah, I think you should have him on. Plus he's a great guy.
Great guy, and I'm glad he introduced me to you.
Likewise.
And how
Likewise.
we had fun, went for a few matches,
Yes.
and played paddle.
Yeah.
Now we're here. I want to know your story because, like, even though we've only met at like a surface level, I think. Like,
Correct.
we were always doing something. Either you're playing paddle or either, as I
Yeah,
said, went
yeah.
for the football matches. Now got a chance to get to know you personally.
Correct.
So, like, if you could just tell me how your family is, how you've been brought up, how you got into the space of finance, and I don't even know how old you are for now, to be honest.
Sure.
So, like, everything, let's start from the start and then we'll see
Sure.
how the journey is.
So I was born in 1993. So I'm 32 now. Came from a middle class family, I think a lower middle class family. But lucky. I mean, my mom is pretty educated. She is a cost accountant by herself. She was working with Larsen and Toubro for a very long. She was actually working with Narmada Cement, which got acquired by Larsen and Toubro. And she'd been working for Larsen and Toubro for a very long time. In fact, even in my formative years, she was a working woman. When my brother was born is when she decided that she is not going to continue to work, but she's been very active. So after leaving her job, she started taking tuitions. She was teaching college kids from 10th to BCom kind of kids. Um, Post that, she started her own logistics company, which I also was very active at. Right, so not logistics so much, distribution more than logistics. Right, we were distributors for Amul and Dabur in Mumbai. So we did that for quite some time. We sold that business because it was taxing. More than anything, I think the hours were long. Her involvement obviously was 100% because she was the one who was running it. Right, so it was probably like from morning 8 o'clock to 8 plus at night, 6 days a week. So and we started what after she was 50. So taxing.
Yeah.
She did it pretty well. We took an exit out of the business, sold the business, and now she's active. She's in fact regular to our office every day. My father is a BCom graduate, but he's been a business guy. So he was a bookmaker at Mahalakshmi Racecourse.
Okay.
He started writing accounts for one of the bookmakers at Mahalakshmi Racecourse. Then these three friends, one of which was my father, took over the entity when their bosses wanted to shut down the business or shut down the book more than the business.
Was there a reason why they wanted to shut down?
Uh, I don't know. Maybe just out of age. Maybe they did not have offsprings who would want to run the business. Which is when my father and two of his partners started the bookmaking business at Mahalakshmi Racecourse. They were official licensed bookmakers. He was a licensed bookmaker for all his life. That's all he did as a profession for a good 25 odd years. So that was, I think I was lucky. We started off um, from a lower middle class family. I think my grandfather was the sweetest person that I've ever met, but not a great business guy.
God.
Right. So did not make a lot of money. My grandmother was a principal at a school. So again, Gujarati school. So they used to stay in a one-room kitchen flat in Andheri, which I have seen. Right, which is where I was at a meeting yesterday. So I had a flashback of the place very recently. But I was born in Borivali, one bedroom flat. By that time, my father had saved enough, earned enough to afford a one bedroom flat. And I think they've done well for themselves. I've been very lucky to afford good education, um, um, a good circle, good uh, social surrounding around me since the day I was born. Yeah.
The
So
environment.
yeah, the environment was pretty conducive for learning, education, business, all of these things. Stock markets was a destiny. So when I talk to young kids these days, not young kids, young people these days, a lot of people are clueless of what they want to do, which I respect, which I understand, and which probably is the side that I have not seen. I am excited. If I had been the person that I did not know what I wanted to do, I would just be roaming around doing random stuff, which is fun for all.
Yeah, if you're curious, you'll find your path.
Yeah. But I wanted to manage money since I was in 8th grade.
Oh.
Right? 8th grade was the time when I bought my first stock. I still remember I bought Bosch Limited at 2000 bucks back in the day. I bought half a share. I asked so my grandfather was managing stocks for some HNI based in Mumbai. And I woke up to CNBC every day. I used to sleep with my grandfather. I woke up to CNBC in the morning every day. And so I'm assuming since you're nodding, it's the same with you.
Yeah.
Right.
Like my dad, he's a sub broker as well. Oh, one knows since my childhood, every morning there would be CNBC on.
Correct.
And like I can remember the sounds that they use in the channel as well. Like when I'll wake up and I go for the shower, this part is gonna come.
Correct.
So yeah, pretty accurate.
And you see the red and green tickers every morning without understanding what's really happening. So 8th grade, I bought my half a stock with my grandfather. I told him I've saved enough money to buy Bosch Limited. For what reason, I don't know. I used to. So I don't know if this. I know that they don't do it anymore, but there used to be a bhav copy of stock prices every morning. Economic Times may open, high, low, close of every listed security in very small letters in Economic Times. So I used to somehow every morning open the newspaper, look at the prices, and just take a pen and randomly mark things without them meaning anything. But there used to be, I think, आज भी वो section है where they are mentioning high open interest stocks, high gainers, high losers. So at least, you're reading every day what's going up, which sectors are doing well, what sectors are not, from a very, very young age. So Bosch Limited, by the way, went up to whatever 4,000 bucks. I sold, I made money. So that is how the stock market kida came in me. Bosch, but I sold at 4,000. Today it would be at whatever 20 plus thousand bucks. So which was random, which was by chance. There was no method to the madness.
You just picked a stock.
Yeah, I just picked a stock that ended up working well, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing today, because that seemed fascinating to me, right? Meaning you buying something and making money out of it. So that happened. 10th grade, I completed my schooling. After 12th, so I got into NM. Did my junior college in NM. Senior college in NM as well. But after completing my 12th, by that time I was actively buying and selling stock, right? So very, very actively buying and selling stock, 1 stock, 2 stock, 5 stock, 10 stock. I had this notebook where I was maintaining my portfolio, writing what I had bought, quantity, price, all of these things, right?
How did you buy them though? Because like I'm assuming until 18 were you...
So I did not buy it in my account, but it was always my grandfather.
Oh, so you just told him I want these? And he bought them for you. So did you physically pay him cash or
Yes, I did physically pay him cash.
Where did you get that cash from?
So pocket money, Diwali pe kuch cover mil gaya. Again, coming from a lower middle class family, you're big on savings, or at least lower middle class Gujarati family, you're big on savings, right? So savings has been an integral part. Today also, I think I'm big on saving, and I think that's worked in my favor. So yeah, that's how I started. 12th grade, I started working with Rickshaw Commodities. One of our relatives who was prime brokers in commodities, sub brokers in equities. 12th में ऐसा लगता था कि यार सब सीख लिया है मार्केट में, अभी नया कुछ सीखने को बाकी नहीं है, तो डेरिवेटिव्स सीखते. So I joined them, started learning derivatives. started trading heavy derivatives after 12th grade. Uh, I used to trade, my daily turnover would be northwards of 1 crore of a rupee. I remember my father in his towel in the morning seeing message from NSE and shouting at me. He's like, what are you doing on daily basis? Do you even understand what you're doing? I did not make a lot of money back in the day, but ठीक है वो learning curve था. I did not lose money, I did not make money, but great learning, right? Great learning. Yeah, so that's how I got into the markets and never looked back. Uh, in fact, even when I went for my masters, right, I completed my masters from SPJ, and again, I consider myself lucky to have the privilege to have that kind of education, right? Okay. Education plus the kind of faculty which was there, the kind of students which were there, uh, more more than anything, the money that you spend for the education, right? I understand that most people don't have that privilege, and I'm really lucky to have that privilege, uh, which I had at that point in time. But I was very clear कि करूँगा तो stock market ही. जो faculty का placement भी, I mean, after completing my course, when there was the placement round, I was like, boss, कोई कितना भी पैसा दे, I am not going to go out of the market. I am not going to take up a job that has nothing to do with the stock markets. I will work in the stock markets. That's how persistent I was.
I understand you are that persistent and you stumbled across it, I think, when you said 8th grade.
Yeah.
But why? Do you understand, like have you ever thought or reflected about why it attracts you so much, like stock market in specific?
So I think there would be something to do with numbers, statistics, making sense out of numbers, because I worked with my father also, right? I just went there for 4 months before I went to SPJ, and I went to the race course with my father. So race course, I don't know if you've been to a race course. Have you been to a race course?
I have been, but I have not watched a race live. I've just visited a race course when it was empty. So like that doesn't really count.
Okay, it doesn't count. So you've not seen where the bookies stand, right? So it's a 4x4 cage where the bookmakers would stand. There would be 4-5 people within that cage, right? One person who would be writing the odds on the dashboard. There would be one person who would be managing the computer. One person. So ऐसा 4-5 लोग का staff होता है. One person who's hedging your bets in the ring, in the race course. So when I went to the race course, I enjoyed that also. Right, I loved the part where you had to check the odds, accept bets, see how much risk is on what horse, see if you're making money or no. So that somehow excited me. I think there is this fascination where numbers, money, and risk would come together. Casinos.
Yeah.
So now not so much. I don't like casinos anymore, or at least the fascination that I had in my yesteryears is not the same. But I loved casinos growing up. At 18, I went to Macau with my family, and I spent the whole night. So first time I went to the casino, I spent the whole, and I loved it. I just loved the experience of going to a casino. It was so much fun, right? So I think, yeah, there's risk, numbers, and the feeling of winning or losing something, which is exciting enough, I feel.
I think for me, so I'm also interested in stocks and stock market. I also think it's mainly due to the environment I've been brought up, and I was never 100% certain as much as you, like not that sure, but always had an interest.
Sure.
But for me, what I like to do is, okay, I analyze something, or and then I get to see the result after a while, and I get to see where I went wrong, what I did right. So that concept really attracts me.
Sure.
So like to find out, like, and the entire pathway of like how do you come up with a valuation, and then how wrong were you, how correct were you. Like it's like a game, like, oh, if I do this, then this will get better. So I like that concept, and of course the money aspect is always there.
Yeah.
Like there is.
No, I think you summed it better than I did. I think it is a game, right? When I go to work, it's not work. Even when you're working long hours, it's like a game, right? Yeah. I had fascinations of video games also. So it is like a game. I agree with you 100%. It is more of a game rather than work where you're getting bored, where somebody's asked you to do tax, with all due respect to whoever's doing tax, which is a great job. You might want to cut that away. I work with a lot of people who do tax on a daily basis. Okay. But it's a great job, but not so I did not for me. I in fact appeared for CA also. सो चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट का मैंने पेरेंट्स और लाइक 12th हो गया, अब क्या करेगा, तो सीपीटी का एग्जाम दे दे. तो आई गेव माई सीपीटी एग्जाम. अनफॉर्चुनेटली आई क्लियर द ब्लडी थिंग. I got 101 out of 200, right? So 100 is the passing, I got 101. So cleared that stupid thing. Now they said, now you've cleared CPT, you give IPCC. Boss, I have no inclination to do tax and audit here. I don't understand what they're talking about. Right? So did not clear IPCC because I did not attend the classes. It was just a gala time for me. I was just like having fun during those 2-3 years going to the stock market office. But yeah, I think that.
But it seems like overall you're pretty smart as well, or at least you have a good grasp at this industry, like within finance and stock markets. Because like you mentioned, colleges like NM, then SPG, and it's not easy to get into those and then just pass CA, even though like the first exam, even though you're not taking it that seriously. It's like that's all. Like I feel like you undermine your intelligence and hard work as well, maybe.
No. So I am not smart at all. Let me just clarify. I'm 100% certain I am not smart. I am hardworking. If I want to do something, I will make sure I will not do it half-heartedly. I will not give a half-assed attempt to it. I will like try really, really hard at it.
Yeah.
But I'm not smart, boss. Because I know if something has to be done, if somebody does it in 2 days, I will take 4. Somebody does it in 2 years, I will take 4. Somebody does it in whatever. I usually take up more time than most people is my observation. But I get it done. If I've decided I want to do something, I will make sure that I hopefully get it done. Right. So, but I'm not smart. So NM, yeah, I was always an average student. I never scored good marks. Until 10th, I really wanted to like, get into a good college. NM तो नहीं पता था. There was no such intention कि NM ही चाहिए. But I wanted good marks in 10th grade. So I worked my ass for it, right? I worked really hard in 10th. SPJ, and I went to SPJ, the global management course, not SPJ IMR, where the CAT scores are like 9900 cutoff, right? Which is also, in my opinion, not a very simple job, but certainly not as tough as SPJ IMR or the IIMs. And that's why I'm saying I've seen smart people and I don't recognize myself as one of them.
Yeah. Maybe you yourself don't see that. But when I look from the external, like I can see as a third person, right? So maybe you might be right. Maybe you put in a lot of work, and maybe that is what I'm seeing. Because I cannot see the hard work. I can only see who you are right now.
Yeah.
And like what I know about what you do and what you're telling me from what I can gather from that. So yeah, from my perspective, it's always like, oh, super smart guy. But maybe it is the hard work, and which I don't see.
So I work incredibly hard. Fortunately, I love what I do. So it does not seem like a lot of work. But I make sure that so in my office also, right? If you ask my staff, there's like a tagline for our company and whatnot, right? But I say if somebody was to ask you what's the tagline of our company, it's the hardest working people in the room. That's who we are. Nothing can take away, or nobody can take that away from us. You can take away our returns, you can take away our performance, you can take away our intellect, but you can't take away our hard work. And everybody has to work incredibly hard if you're working with us, right? There is no two ways, no half-ass attempt for anyone. No Saturdays, no Sundays. Meaning, सबको off देता हूँ ऐसा. I'm not exploiting people, but no excuses. You shouldn't say, oh, boss, I'm on a weekend, I'm not working. Not okay, boss. You have to, when something has been asked of you, you have to deliver. And fortunately, I have the right kind of people who do that on a daily basis.
How do you find them? Like, because you are the founder of Plus91.
Yeah.
And I think we'll get to that journey part as well. But then, since we stumble upon the topic of like finding hardworking people, how do you do that? Like, is it you who picks the people?
Yeah.
Is it your mom? You work with your mom, right?
Yes, I do.
Is it?
No, but it's always me who takes the interviews. It's always me who vets the people. Uh, One thing, like you mentioned, right, that hunger is essential. I have not worked with people who've come out of Harvard and IIM, and I'm not saying that they're not hardworking. They're definitely hardworking, at least most of them. I have not worked with them, so I don't know that cadre of talent.
Mm-hmm.
But I know other people who've done well, right? Most of them are hardworking people, and most of them have hunger to do well, whether that is financially or just to get to a good place in life, have a good designation, right? If I see that hunger in the other person, no, then you're working for me, right? So not everybody, because so I'll be very honest, right? When you're starting a business, you're on a tight budget, right? So there's only X number of people that you can have with you. We are full in our team size today. Everybody that we've hired is hungry enough.
Yeah.
If you're not hungry enough, you will not survive in my office. You will not survive, because I think I set an example. So when I say, you have to minimum work for X number of hours a week, I'll make sure I'll do 20% more.
Hmm.
I'll set the example, and hopefully they follow.
Right. Nice. So now I'll go back to the journey. But yeah, I think you just maybe understand people, and you can maybe directly ask them also, "Oh, this is how it's gonna be upfront," and then they respond accordingly, and then you hire them based on that. And you of course have your own gut intuition, as in, is this person lying or are they telling the truth? Do I really want them on the team? So
No, so great. So you asked me two things: whether I'm smart, I don't think I am.
okay.
Whether I'm hardworking, I am.
Yeah.
I think I have the skill to read people also.
Oh.
Right. I think that's something that's natural, because in my daily business also, when we are analyzing businesses, we are also analyzing people. I like to bet on people. Yeah. Right. So I think I have that skill of saying कि ये बंदा चोर है, काम नहीं करेगा, he'll do a half-assed attempt, or say, oh, this guy is damn ethical if he said something. And there's always chances when you're wrong. There's always instances when you're wrong, but I would say I'm more often right about a person rather than wrong.
Got it.
Right. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I'll go back to the journey. I think you said you graduated from SPJ. You gave your after 12th you started the CA journey. Did you complete that?
The CA?
Yeah.
No. So I gave my CPT, I gave my IPCC one attempt, and I was pretty frank about it that this is not something that I want to pursue. So I left at IPCC.
And then after that, did you do the CFA?
I did complete my CFA, yes. But so that was also a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
So I did it while I was working. So I used to travel in train 2 hours, which was my reading time. I got home, read for 2 hours, spent weekends reading, studying. It was a lot of hard work. First attempt CFA I did not clear. Okay, because that was just exuberance, overconfidence, because I had come back from my master's degree and I was like, this is kids play, I'm going to like blow it out of the water. I studied for 4 days, went for the exam, realized well before the exam that it's not that easy.
Yeah.
Right? Gave the second attempt, cleared it. Level 2, I cleared it in one go. Level 3, I took one more attempt. I had worked for it, but I took one attempt to clear level 3 also.
Oh, nice. So how did that work out? Like after CA, you didn't want to do it, but did CFA like resonate more with what you wanted to do? Like the financial analysis? Like I'm trying to understand the timeline. So after 12th CA, you quit that, but then you're working with your dad,
Not with my dad. So I went to this Triksha Commodities.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So I did that more like an intern, unpaid intern kind of.
Where you learned derivatives.
I learned derivatives. I did that for a while. Did that for I think a little more than a year. Started trading on my own. I used to trade very large option contracts.
As we saw the text messages by NSE.
Yeah. So I traded till BCom. I went to SPGen right after BCom.
Okay.
Right after BCom, I think there was a 4-month break where I went with my dad. There was no vacation. Went with my dad, worked with him for 4 months. Went to SPGen, came back. Fortunately, got an internship with Phillip Capital. Got a PPA, pre-placement, whatever. I mean, on the internship, I got confirmed as a full-time employee. Uh, Started working with Phillip Capital, and that was the time when I started studying for CFA.
Okay. And how's that going? Like working and studying?
Oh,
So like,
it's hell. I mean, you'll hate it. I can't find anybody who will say I am working and doing my CF and I love it. It's not possible because you don't have a social life now. You are working and studying, working and studying, working and studying, and it sucks the life out of you. But at the same time, there was an inclination of really wanting a degree because I did not have CA, right? A lot of my friends had cleared CA at that point in time. My master's degree was a master's degree. I mean, if you clear your entrance, you get your master's degree. There was no competitive degree that I had. So then I thought I'll give CFA and I'll take the degree. That was the thought process.
And that interested you more, I'm assuming, right? At least more than CA?
Much more than CA. Much more than CA. There would definitely be dry parts within CFA. Like I hated ethics. I mean, I did not think so much about ethics early on, to be very honest. I think ethics क्या होता है यार, मतलब ठीक है, as long as you're making money you're good.
No.
Right? Which big businessman is ethical? Right. So I did not like studying ethics. But today, so I think ethics is number one on my priority list. For myself and for the people that I'm working with, for the companies that we are investing in, ethics is number one. But back in the day, I did not think so much about ethics. But yeah, ethics was boring. Everything except for equities was boring. And so derivatives is interesting, portfolio management was interesting, but debt was boring. Fixed income was a boring subject. So duration से मुझे क्या लेना देना? I was of that thought process. Now I understand it pretty well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the thought process.
I personally liked ethics a lot. Like, I don't know. For some reason, like.
But how old are you?
I'm 24. I'll turn 25 in July.
So you're pretty low. Yeah, you're pretty. Why did you like ethics?
I don't know. Like, I feel like university shaped me quite a bit. So in university, I took lessons like philosophy, and I just stumbled upon them. Like, I just had to take it. Like, either it was one of the prerequisites for other subjects that I wanted to take, or either it's just like, oh, I have to take an elective. So like, I just took that. And then when I started understanding philosophy, morals and everything a lot more, I was like, oh, I do like asking the big questions of life. Like, where do we come from? Why are we here? And what kind of person we should be? What happens after? Like, just contemplating life and self-reflection. I just enjoy that. And morals has to do a lot with that. And maybe that's why I enjoyed ethics.
Yeah.
But unlike you, I did not do my CFA while working. So like, I graduated online because due to COVID, I had to come back. And that's when I got introduced to CFA. Like, I had no clue what CFA was, to be honest. I just saw my professors at university have like CFA after their name.
Yeah.
But I didn't know about the course much. And one of my cousins introduced me. So I started during COVID. We anyway couldn't do much. So I was just home studying, and
Fair.
I was consistent more than anything. Like, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I was just consistent.
Fair.
Level 1 I cleared, and then I worked at Ambit with Malik.
Yeah.
And that's where I met him, and then I met you. Then after that, I tried to study level 2 along with work. It was too much for me. Because some Saturdays used to be working as well. I don't know, it's just too much. Like, working and doing the CFA, I didn't feel confident. And in my head, I was like, I'm fairly young. I have to work the rest of my life anyway. Why not make sure to complete the CFA, get the degree first? Like, and then when I'm working, it's just work. Like, I don't have to balance two different works.
Correct.
So I quit that job, level 2.
No, but kudos to you. I think so that's why I'm saying I was a stupid child and I'm stupid now also in many ways. I learn a lot of things later in life or late in life. You learned ethics was a good thing. I think today you and I would be on the same page. You're 7 years younger to me, right? So I learned that pretty late. Okay, ethics बहुत important है boss. In life, ethics are very important, which is a great thing.
Yeah.
You're a smart chap who's thought about life and contemplated about morals very early on in university. I was not remotely bothered about it. In my formative years, 24, 25, I had nothing to do with life. I mean, just have fun, go out with your friends and trade the markets. That's fun. That was fun for me,
No, that's good. I think it was just like like it was the first time I was away from home. I was by myself, so I had to read, understand people, understand situations, and like I got to find out what I like. And I think most of my growth happened after I turned 18. Like 18, and then it's always going on.
Yeah.
But until 18, I feel like I had no clue. Like the past me, I have no clue how I was like that. Yeah. It's been a weird journey for me. Even I don't think I'm that smart. As I said, for me, it's mainly like the consistency that's easy.
Yeah.
Because I know how to create habits.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not sure if I'm too hardworking as well. I always feel like I'm not doing enough.
Which is a
Like-
good feeling to have. Which is a good feeling to have, trust me. So you said you're good at habits. What's your habit today? Like, what are a few habits that you have today?
Oh, so I have like a set routine. Like every morning, I'll wake up, I'll have the same breakfast, and then I'll do the like the first thing I'll do is I'll wake up, I'll drink a liter of water, and yeah, freshen up, go about my day, and like just quickly plan. Like I have a to-do list. It's the same to-do list for the entire week, and then it's just me checking or crossing, and it changes every week or whatever.
Yeah.
And I like to go to the gym, like fitness.
Super.
And every evening I like to walk as well,
Super.
like taking care. So right now the routine is pretty much that, and then I keep it flexible in terms of like, oh, do I want to apply for jobs? Do I want to work on the podcast?
Yeah.
Do I want to write questions for the podcast? Do I want to approach the guest? What do I want to do? And then there's a free time slot as well.
But
And
so those are all mature dilemmas here. I mean, 7 years elder to you, I pretty much have the same routine and same. I maintain a to-do list. I go to the gym. So great job. I mean, at 25, if these are good dilemmas to have, right? Whether I should do a job or whether I should study more or whether I should do a podcast. They're all good dilemmas to have.
Yeah. I think I have more clarity now, like, because studying is done for now. I didn't do my master's yet, but then for now. And if I do a master's, I want to do it by myself.
Fair.
So, like, my goal is to get a job or, like, at least something that I like, and this podcast will go on, like,
Yeah.
forever, I hope.
Super.
Because I do enjoy it. It's difficult for others to maybe understand how much work it is. So,
Yeah.
they're like, "Arey, it's a side hustle."
It's not.
Like,
It's not.
I would love to do it as my main thing, because I said I like to understand different, like I think before the podcast started, we discussed, like,
Yeah.
I'll get anyone on the podcast who I think is a good human, or like
Interesting.
either their specific profession interests me.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for someone who's a detective as well, by the way. Like, at least not a random police person, but like someone who knows how the detective work in Mumbai goes on. Because that's something I love. So yeah, I want to get like a broad spectrum of people.
Super.
Learn about so many things, because I have many different interests.
Super.
Mystery crime. And so podcast is one thing, and then I know I want to find a job, because what I'll do is I'll get some help with the podcast. I can work 5 to 6 days a week, and then over the weekends I can just sit down, have the conversation rather than setting it up.
But you're a Marwadi boy. You'll get married soon, I feel. No chances of getting married soon.
No luck yet. I've been single for 24 years, all my life. So yeah, I doubt that. My parents are...
Why is that?
Why is that? I don't know. As I said, I feel like till 18 even I didn't know who I was. So there was no chance till then anyway. Like, maybe I get attached very easily to people, but then that scares other people. And as you have an instinct for your employees, who's hardworking, who's lying, who's not, for me, within the first few times I meet someone, I can be like, they're the person for me or they're not. So like, I have many filters. So like most of the time it's just like, oh no, like this is gonna go wrong. This is gonna.
Okay, we'll talk about this separately. I have different views about your dating life. I don't have a dating life. I'm married now, so
Oh, when did I know? I think the first time we met, you were gonna get married, or were you gonna go?
I was gonna get married. Yes, yes.
So when did that happen? Around 2024? Was it last year or last year? 2023, 2020?
No, I got married very recently. I got married January this year.
Oh.
But I was seeing my now wife at that point in time.
How
So the marriage, it was an arranged marriage.
Okay.
It was an arranged marriage. We met and we clicked, and we decided to get married. so
Easy.
simply, yeah.
But yeah, I think we were talking about like you being hardworking, whereas I just think I'm not that hardworking, but I can be consistent. Like I can build habits and I can be consistent. I like routine.
Fair.
So like that works in my favor.
Yeah, a lot.
Because consistency is like one of the biggest things.
For sure, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So that's the one thing I think works in my favor.
Super.
Other than that, yeah, just me personally, I want to work somewhere, hopefully in equity as well.
Yeah.
But I've never worked in equity. So what if I don't like it is always a question. Like the picture in my head is I go to work, I enjoy it, I analyze, I love it. But I'm sure there's parts that I'll hate. Like you never know. Like what if there's something that I don't like at all? What if it's building the models? Or what if it's just reading about a company? What if I don't know? Like I've tried, but I've never had a. So it's always in my head. It's like theoretically I know things and I enjoy them, but practically they'll be a lot different.
Sure.
So that's where my issue lies. Like so, hopefully I'll get to experience that.
Sure.
And yeah, I wanted your view on this particular question. I wanted to discuss about this. Do you think the smarter thing is to complete the CFA or any degree along your work and like give multiple attempts and then hopefully get through? Or do you think it's better to like take a pause, complete it?
Taking a pause is not the smartest thing, not a great.
Yeah.
But I'm opinionated, right? So not necessary that I'm right about it. That has more to do with my belief that education means very little. As long as you are learning, the stamp of approval of a degree or a university means very little to me. So I don't look at people who've graduated from XYZ places, who've had XYZ degrees. I look at experience. I value experience way more than I value degrees, right? I don't know why, but yeah, I think I always felt insulted when you go to an interview and say, "Oh, CFA nahi hai," to boss, I've worked my ass for so many years, and the kind of on-ground knowledge that I have will be much better than a CFA graduate.
100%.
Right? That's not happened very often, but I'm just giving you an example, right? So that is primarily why I don't think that you should take a break for education, because it's not more important than a job.
Yeah.
I think the things that you learn on a job, whether it is the job itself or more importantly dealing with people, right? Juniors, people that you're working with, people who are superior to you, people who are your clients, who are your vendors, or to treat people. The whole package is much more valuable than getting a degree, according to
100. I think I'm on the same page. Yeah. But unfortunately, I picked the other path. So I realize how. So you know how you face the issue of them saying, "Oh, you don't have a CFA degree."
Yeah.
For me, it's usually like, "Oh, you don't have any experience in the field."
Yeah.
Which I think they're completely valid on their side.
Yeah.
But in my head, it's just like, I also need a breakthrough, right? I need a chance as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully that'll come across.
That will come across.
And yeah, I'll get to experience what the industry is like. And hopefully I wish I enjoy it as much as I'm
picturing it in your head.
Exactly. and hopefully that realizes. Um, Other than that, in terms of the industry itself, the finance, the equity in specific equity research, or I think you do all assets, asset management, all of them, or is it mainly just
We just do equities.
equities?
We just do equities today.
Okay. In that, how do you like? How does it start and then end? Like, do you look at what the world's business cycle is, how industries are performing, then you look at certain stocks, or is it that you come across a stock in the news? Like, how do you go about starting to analyze a company and then towards the end valuing it?
So I'll tell you the process first. You usually so macro came very late in my life. When you're saying you look at things globally, cycles globally, that came very late in my life. Thankful to my last job at Alpha Plus, which was a family office. The guys that I was working with were really good at macros. They in fact are the ones who introduced me to macros. So macros in fact came really late in my life. I started seeing global business cycles much late in my life. Uh, until very late, I was always a bottoms up guy, right? So meaning the process would include me reading 4 or 5 annual reports of a company, reading credit rating reports, reading investor forums where there's information about the company, news articles, con call transcripts, PowerPoint presentation. That would give you enough grounding on what a business is. धंधा क्या है समझ में आ जाता है उतना पढ़.
What sources do you use specifically?
Screener is my number one source. Screener practically has everything. Screener has links to results, annual reports, PPT, con call. So Screener is my number one source. Chat GPT is something that I'm using very actively. Apart from that, I think Value Picker is one very good forum.
I don't know about that. I'll look in.
You should look at it. I think so. Value Picker is one forum where investors like you and me can come on a platform and discuss about a company, right? You're not allowed to give a buy recommendation, sell recommendation. It's just discussing about fundamentals of a company, right? So I like Value Picker quite a lot. And then I think, like I said, I like to see the person that I'm investing in, right? So meeting the management, trying to visit their plant, even if I understand very little about.
Easy to do that? Like, do they just dismiss you? Like, who are you? Why do I want to meet?
They don't. So I started my research career at ITI, Investment Trust of India. There we used to just call the companies, right? We used to pick up the phone. I used to Google who's the CFO of XYZ company. I used to get his name. I used to call the board line. I used to say, hey, I'm Parth Kotak working with ITI. We are a research house. We are a listed company. I just wanted to try and meet such and such person who would usually be a CFO to just understand about the business. They would usually respond by giving us an email ID or transferring the board line or telling us, okay, just give us a 2-pager about what your company does, right? 50% of the times you get in the door. Life has become much simpler now because most companies have IRs today, right? Below the presentation, there would be an IR number, person within the company whom you can contact to know more, right? So life has gotten simpler that way. Then today, because we have sell-side brokers, if we are not able to get into a company ourselves, we ask our sell-side brokers to help us with the corporate connect. अगर ये 3 चीज़ों से नहीं होता है तो then the company is not meeting anybody, right? If the company is meeting certain class of investors, then we will definitely be able to meet the company. If they are not meeting anyone, then we will also not be able to meet.
God. So yeah, you analyze it, read about them, you contact them. What do you do next?
We try and meet with the person, right? We meet with the person, spend a couple of hours, try to see where they have come from. It's like a mini podcast, right? Talking more about the business, not more about the person, but trying to get a sense of where the person has come from, how long has he spent in the industry, how smart he is, how good he is at his business. Trying to visit the plant, seeing the people working over there, seeing if there's a lot of work that has gone on to building the plant, making it different from others. We don't understand a lot of processes, to be honest, right? I mean, management says idhar se ye dalta hai aur ye nikalta hai, you take them at face value because you're not mechanical engineers, right? but you get to understand the people, right? So once you meet a person 2-3 times, you hopefully get a sense if you like the person or no, right? Which is natural, which happens otherwise also. You played paddle with a person 3 times, you understand whether you might not dislike him, but you just want to play paddle with the person, or you want to uh, go out and go out for a dinner with the person, or that happens, right? So if you get a good feeling about the person, then it's because now you understand the business after reading so much about the business. The person has given you a brief about what happens in the business also, and now you know the person also after meeting 2-3 times. So if everything is a check mark, then we'd love to invest in the business. That's our general thought process about going about a business.
Okay, so first you look into the company. Is the analysis done after reading, or does it happen after you meet the person?
So analysis is reading about the company, right? So
Okay, yeah.
so reading about the company, the competitors, the suppliers.
Is the valuation done then as well?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes. So valuation would be done. So I understand when people say valuation is the last thing that you should do. I agree with most people who say that valuation is the last thing that you should do. But it's like saying, okay, to say things that money is not important, you should have a lot of it, right?
Yeah.
Is equivalent to saying valuation is not important when you understand it really, really well, right? When you know that I am definitely not overpaying for something, is when you can say that valuation is not important. ठीक है, मैंने prima facie देख लिया. I know that the company can be worth so much. Valuation is probably the last thing after you are pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Right? It's not rocket science. It's the easiest thing to learn, right? CFA, other academic courses have made valuations really simple. A fresh graduate who would come to me, I would teach them valuations in a week's time by the book. And experience will obviously help them be better at valuation in terms of what multiple can a company get, what kind of growth can it get, all of those things. But yeah, I mean, that is the least important thing uh, compared to the underlying business, the people who are running it.
Fundamentals.
Yeah, the fundamentals precede valuations at all point in time.
How long does it usually take to come up, like the entire start to end process?
For a new guy, I think a week's time is a reasonable amount of time. From a Monday to Friday, you should be able to read 4-5 annual reports, read 2 con call transcripts, 2, 3, 4, whatever makes you comfortable about the company, two credit rating reports, investor forums. Yeah, I think a week is a decent enough time for a beginner. I mean, a person who's fresh or spent 1 year in the industry. For somebody who's been in the business for I think more than 3 years, the time keeps on getting shorter and shorter. I think a day is enough now for you to understand a business in and out. So yeah, I think
a week for a beginner, a day for someone who's experienced.
Yeah.
But that's understanding. What including meeting the
that depends, no?
person?
So you'd usually try and meet with the company when you started reading
Yeah.
about it. So meeting can happen within a week, within a month.
What I'm trying to understand is how long does it take for you to, like, of course it's going to be
pull the trigger.
yeah, to basically be like the starting point of when I started researching, and it's a good buy, I'm buying it or I'm recommending it, like making the decision. How long of a
There's no set rules for it. I can look at a business in a day and buy it, provided I've met the guy. Okay, if I've met the guy, I've read for a business in a day, I can buy it. But it's not going to be like a seriously large position of my portfolio. I want to I want to be okay seeing the price. I don't look at prices on a daily basis, so it's not that. But you just open your account and see what the stock is trading at once a day. Not that it makes any sense, but you just get a sense of how the stock is moving. you'd want to see 2-3 quarters of performance of walking the talk of a person delivering what he's guiding for before it culminates into a serious position for me. Yeah, I don't think I would take a serious position in business which I have not tracked for a long enough time.
Okay. So I think you look at long-term investments, but then you invest a little for let's say 3 quarters, as you said. And then if it performs according to your expectation, you take a big bet and then hold it, I'm assuming, for like 2-3 years or however long you feel like is valid for that stock.
Fair.
And then, of course, you'll keep monitoring it. You'll keep it.
Of course. Of course. Of course.
Okay. I should probably ask this earlier, but at Plus91, do you just have your own portfolio? Is it like you give recommendations, or are there other funds you manage where people invest?
So we are registered investment advisors today.
Okay.
We are basically advisors to all of our clients. We have a good number of clients. We have today about 150 clients as we speak. So we are advisors today. We filed for a PMS license. So we'll be a fund house very, very soon. So we advise on individual ideas to our investors, right? In a model portfolio sense, whereby we say, okay, you can buy 4% of idea, like we are recommending it in a portfolio. And then there would be certain large clients where we would be presenting ideas. We would probably, there would be certain large knowledgeable investors where would say, okay, we've studied such and such idea. We've done such and such work for this company. These are the fundamentals, these are the valuations. Now you take the call. So typically this being advisors as of today.
And you have your own portfolio, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Nice. 1 second.
Yes, please.
The name Plus91. Of course, that's a code for like what I assumed.
Yeah, it is
India code. But then why that name?
So I was thinking about the name and nothing really stuck, right? I mean, I was thinking about Parth Kotak and then I thought it sounds like. So Motilal Oswal is a name, right?
Yeah.
JP Morgan is a name, and I thought Parth Kotak, but then I thought it will sound incredibly stupid to begin with. So then I thought, nahi, Parth Kotak to nahi rakhte. And then I think it was the time when the World Cup had started, the football World Cup, and Saudi Arabia wala. So Saudi Arabia had named their stadiums after the pin code Qatar, not Saudi Arabia. Sorry. Yeah, Qatar. So Qatar had named their stadiums after pin codes, which is when I thought, oh, this is a cool concept, right? So then I thought Plus91 is an apt name for our business.
It's Plus91 Asset Management, right?
Yes. So like I said, today we are registered investment advisors. We are taking a PMS license, and we have plans to become into a full-blown asset manager.
That's what I wanted to get into. So eventually you'll get into other assets as well.
Yes. That is the plan. So I think there are 4 major asset classes, right? Equities, fixed income, alternates, which would include
real estate,
the darling of Indians, real estate, private equity, venture capital, and 4th would be limited supply, which would by and large be gold. But if you're adventurous enough, then crypto itself. Crypto.
What was the 4th one called?
Limited supply asset classes. Right. So I would term the asset classes under 4 main categories. So today we are in equities. Hopefully we want to cover all 4. So the thought process, Nandan, is that an investor should have exposure to all 4 asset classes within their portfolio after they've matured, right? So when you're young, when you're 20, 25, I'd probably recommend you just buy one stock, because if you lose that money, it's not going to be consequential at a later stage in your life.
High conviction.
Yeah, just buy one single stock. Everything has to go into one bloody idea. If that matures, then you make a lot of money, right? But as you grow old, as you've accumulated wealth, you would want to diversify it across asset classes. So we'd want to be the financial go-to person for all investors who would be catering to all asset class needs, right? So we'd be in equities, fixed income, limited supply asset classes, and alternates. That's the thought process.
Nice. How do you like, because this is the hurdle I said I come across all the time. For me, theoretically, I get it. Practically, I don't. So I always feel like, let's say, even if I sit at home, research a company, come up with a value, I've probably done multiple things wrong. So I have no one to tell me, hey, this is right, this is wrong. What was the point when you found out that I know the business, I understand, I can value it well now, and maybe that is what led you to become independent and start Plus91 itself. So, like, when or how did you, maybe that clicked to you, or did it never click, or was it like you always good at it and
You can never be 100% sure about a business idea. Let me put it that way. If you are 100% sure about a stock at any point in time across any time frame, then you would put 100% of your wealth and your investors' wealth in that stock, right? So you can't be 100% certain of an idea of a business investment prospect. But I think that confidence is necessary. I think I had that confidence from day one of my job that I can tell you whether you should buy the stock or sell the stock. Whether I'm right or wrong has no bearing, right? That my recommendation comes with a disclosure that I have the full liberty to be wrong about everything that I recommend. Right? That comes as a disclosure when you're recommending, but you should have the confidence of saying that I have done my work in understanding the business and giving the recommendation on a particular idea. Right.
so you're saying from day one itself, starting a job, you're like, I can do this. I know, like, I understand business as well. I've analyzed it, so I'm confident whether it's a buy or a sell.
Not when in my first job when I was at Phillip Capital, not so much because I never really touched fundamentals. It was just trading, and I'm not a trader, right? I'm an investor. I don't look at charts. None of those things. But when I moved with Investment Trust of India, yes, day one of my job. Because before Investment Trust of India, because I wanted to get into research, I started researching about companies, right? The first idea that I pitched back in the day was JK Tires, if I remember correctly. I don't know how that's panned out. It's not something that I bought. But there was an interesting story brewing out, as far as I remember, back in 2015-16, that there was a shift to some tires, radial tires, to some tires, which will lead to some growth in the business. Right? I did not know valuations back in the day. Valuations kya hota hai, kuch nahi pata. But this story I was convinced about, okay, this is happening in this particular business. Right? So, and I was confident, okay, this is a good idea to buy. Right? I do not know if that idea has been a successful investment idea or no. Not that we pursued it also after. But I think in the interview, it worked out in my favor कि हाँ ये बंदे को at least he has the he's gone on and read about the business at least. Valuation नहीं पता तो कुछ नहीं, वो सीख जाएगा in the sense.
Understood. I have a follow-up question with regards to valuation and etc. So you know how you said, I know whether, like, let's leave the valuation apart. One, and this is a personal question for myself.
Yeah.
One question I always have is like, what is the consensus? Like, what are people, you know how people say, no matter how good a business is, if the public is expecting 10% growth, they give 9, the stock value is going to go down. So you need to understand what the people are expecting as well.
That is
How do you find that out? Like, that's something that's always been a question for me, because I've never worked in even in a job in equity or anything. So I'm just thinking
it's a lot of common sense. For example, today, if I were to ask you, forget the valuations, what do you think about the defense business?
At the moment, pretty good.
Yeah. So that's the consensus. You go and read Mazgao docs and transcript, right? It come out today. 6 June was their con call. I have not read the whole transcript. I was just like skimming over it. The management has guided for a 10 to 15% growth. That's it. A 10 to 15% growth with a 15% PBT margin, which is not bad. Not saying that's good or bad. I'm not judging the business. There's no recommendation whether you should buy or sell. I am saying everybody thinks that business is going to boom, defense is going to do so well. That's the perception. The reality is when you look at the numbers of the company, right? I'm not saying again, no judgment if 10-15% is good or bad, or if Muscat is good or bad, or if other players in the industry are good or bad. My opinion, defense has not delivered the goods yet. There has not been a substantial growth in the numbers of defense so far, but everything is flying. Nothing corrects. Nothing comes down. Right? So that's consensus. Where everybody, and I think that's the worst point in time when you should look at a stock. Right? We've bought a stock. देखो दो चीज़ है. एक तो you've been single तो तेरे को ये analogy दो या नहीं पता नहीं, but when you walk into a room, when you walk into a social place, right? And you look at a girl, ठीक है? Your personal preference you don't know, but you know that a lot of guys are going to like that girl. ठीक है? तो that is consensus. कि पता है कि ये इसको तो मतलब I know that 5 guys are going to hit on this girl. It's the same in the markets. Whether that guy is an institution or a retail, I don't know, but defense में interest है. ये पता है तुमको. ठीक है? So I am not saying you don't buy it. I am saying whether fundamentals support it or not is your personal call to make. Whether you want to buy at those valuations is a personal call to make.
Got it. So consensus in general, I feel like we can just find out from the news itself and like what people are thinking.
Yeah. Consensus on Bloomberg would be what all analysts as a community would project the next year's sales growth, EPS, all of this would be. But most people don't have access to that information and I don't think it's relevant. By and large, it's not really important for you as an investor.
Okay. That's what I want. I think for the short term, it's more relevant. For the long term, it's not as relevant. But for the short term, you're like, oh, the results coming out end of this quarter. How is that? I assume
there could be a trading strategy on it, but fundamentally, I am least bothered if you've projected a 20% growth and the real growth is 26%. Okay, धंधा करते हो ना यार. मतलब your father is into the stock market, so it's different. But for example, my father has been a bookmaker. If I tell him how much money you're going to make next year, he will say I'll make 20% more than I made in the last year. For example, if he makes 10% more or 10% less or 30% more, is up to fate here. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the future.
So long term, focus on the people.
Yeah. Always. Plus, there should be an emphasis on buying something cheap. If you've bought something at a reasonable valuation, valuation है ना समझ में बहुत easily आता है. लोगों को ऐसा लगता है कि so for example, Deepak Fertilizers. We were talking at the start of our podcast. Okay, FY24, you go and open their result that they've delivered. They delivered a 438 crore of EBITDA. Okay. 438 crore of EBITDA, you go and listen to the con call. The promoter has said that I am very confident we will maintain this run rate because now all our capacities are on stream. They are running at full utilizations. Realizations, meaning prices of the goods that we are selling, is by and large at long-term averages. So ये normal धंधा है मेरे लिए. I am going to make 450 odd crores every quarter given from here. ठीक है? That is equating 2,000 crores of EBITDA, right? अभी for somebody who's not very educated, उसको EBITDA नहीं समझता है, तुम समझो profit है वो. ठीक है? EBITDA के बाद तुम्हारा depreciation interest लगता है, tax करता है तो PAT निकल जाता है. बहुत कोई rocket science नहीं है उसमें. बट समझो 2,000 करोड़ रुपए का कोई अगर धंधा करने का पोटेंशियल रखता है, समथिंग दैट इज ऑलरेडी डिलीवर्ड was available at a market cap of 5,000-6,000 crores back in the day. After the results were delivered, 6,000 crores. So as a baniya, you know your simple common sense knowledge. If I were to tell you, Nandan, you have 10,000 crores, you are at the liberty to buy the whole company. Right? Will you not buy a company who's delivering 2,000 crores in annual profits? Right? And is available, the total value that you have to pay for it is 6,000 crores, right? उसके बाद तुम्हारा टैक्स भी कटता है, डेप्रिसिएशन तो इज अ नॉन not real expense, interest expense is a real expense. बट समझो 1,000 करोड़ 1,500 करोड़ तो 5-6 साल में तो पूरा कंपनी फ्री हो गया ना तुम्हारा, राइट? उसके बाद तो द प्रॉफिट दैट इट इज गोइंग टू मेक फॉर इट्स existence is going to be free for you.
Yeah.
That's as simple as valuations can be for someone, right? It need not be Excel files, it need not be DCF, it need not be required rate of return. बहुत सिंपल तरीके से आपको HAL makes a profit of 1,000 crore. I don't know if that's the correct number. I'm just giving an example. It's making a profit of 1,000 crores. It's available at a market cap of 1.5 lakh crores. If it does not grow, if it maintains its steady state rate, then it's going to make 150 years for you to recoup your original investment, right? That's valuations for you. And now you take the judgment of saying, no, India is going to kick ass in defense and the Kaveri engine and the Tejases of the world are going to be sold to everyone and HAL's profit will become 10,000 and hence I will recoup my money in 15 years is your judgment to make as an analyst. That's your conviction. So conviction is not about, conviction is a lot of things, but that's your conviction essentially saying, okay, I 100% believe that this is going to come true. Right? So valuation is very simple. Valuation is not extremely difficult according to me.
Got it. That clarifies a lot of things for me, to be honest. Like, I think I complicated a lot in my head.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why I'm saying, the valuation is the last thing that you should look at it, provided you know how to look at it. If you're good at it, if you know कि भाई धंधे का मेरे को समझ में आता है कि वैल्यू क्या है, then it's not that important. Then, because you're looking at 100 ideas a year, 20 will fit in your valuation criteria. And that valuation criteria will be very different for me than it will be for you. So I'm not trying to say value something is expensive for me, it has to be expensive for you, not necessary. बट 100 में से 20 आइडिया तुम्हारे वैल्यूएशन क्राइटेरिया में फिट होगा, लेना तो तुमको 4 ही है ना, तो देन बेट ऑन द पीपल विद इन दोस 20 आइडियाज.
You gave the example of HA. Like, of course, we don't know the true numbers, but it's quite obvious from the example that you should probably sell it because 150 years is going to take. You aren't certain about it. I'm assuming that's what you're going with, right?
सो
Like, valuation is
दो चीज़ है. एक तो I look at a business like I want to buy the business and run it for eternity. That is my choice.
Yep.
Do I make that decision for 100% of my portfolio? No. Then that analogy of I know that that girl is attractive, 5 other people are going to hit on her will come into, right? Meaning, for example, if a defense stock, so P, right? Essentially, when you're saying in how many years can you recoup your original investment provided profits don't grow, is the P ratio, right? तो मेरे को पता है सब 100-150 टाइम पे अवेलेबल है. अगर मेरे को कोई डिफेंस स्टॉक 30 टाइम पे मिलता है जो ग्रो होने वाला है, राइट? व्हेन यू नो दैट, ओके, सी इट्स अ रियलिटी दैट defense spending across the globe has gone up.
Yeah.
It's not a myth, right? You know a lot of Indian companies are getting into defense now, getting approvals, government focus is there, तो growth आएगा. ऐसा नहीं है growth नहीं आएगा. So when you know something at 30p is going to grow and catch the eye of other investors, right? I might not want to own that particular business for 50 years, 100 years. That I don't have the philosophy कि अरे मेरा 6 साल में पैसा फ्री होएगा, नहीं होएगा, राइट? बट मेरे को पता है कि ये चीज़ मैं आज 30 के पी पे ले रहा हूँ, फॉरवर्ड अर्निंग्स पे वो 15 के पी पे हो जाएगा और शायद अगर अर्निंग्स ग्रोथ आ भी जाए तो उसको 50 का पी मिल भी जाए. सो देर इज रियली गुड स्कोप फॉर यू टू मेक बिग मनी. दैट इज ऑल्सो फेयर, राइट? So there are multiple ways to skin the sheep.
What I was trying to get at is, do you also sell stocks, like short sell? Like, you don't have them?
No.
You feel like,
No.
okay,
No, I don't
you just
sell stocks.
go on buying whether I want to invest or not?
Yeah, because statistically it does not make sense, no? If you are going short on a stock, the maximum that you can make is the value that you are selling at. The maximum that you can lose is unlimited, right? But that does not stand true for options. So I sell options. I am an option seller, which is a different conversation, hopefully, or maybe, I don't know today if you want to talk about it, but you get the essence of theta decay and all of those things. But I don't want to sell a business forever. और एक तो दूसरा है ना, if you really want to become a good investor, you read 10 books. You are You said you are good at systems, right? You are good at putting
Consistent.
consistency. You read 10 good books, you pick 10 good principles out of those 10 books that you've read, and you follow them, you will be a good investor.
Okay.
I can guarantee that much. I can guarantee. इतना अभी वॉरेन बफे ने बुक लिखा है, पीटर लिंच ने बुक लिखा है, फिल फिशर, दे हैव स्पेंड देयर लाइफ टाइम्स इन द मार्केट, राइट? इफ दे आर राइटिंग समथिंग अबाउट इट, इट हैज टू बी राइट. इट इज राइट, राइट? तो 10 अच्छा बुक पढ़ो, उसमें से 10 प्रिंसिपल उठाओ, सिर्फ वो फॉलो करो, यू विल बी सक्सेसफुल. आई कैन गिव इट टू यू इन राइटिंग.
I also remember when I met you, you mentioned that one of the most important things in equity research is that you have to love reading.
Yeah.
Is that what you'd say is number one? Or are there other criterias where people have to be good at other skill set, or like they have to love something enough?
So when I said you have to love reading if you're coming in equity research, I meant it as a job.
Yeah.
If you're going to pick up an equity
That's correct.
job, your primary number one task or something that will occupy more than 50% of your time is going to be reading. So if you're a person who dislikes reading, then it's not the job for you. Right? According to me, I could be again very wrong. But according to me, if you dislike reading, equity research is probably not for you. Right? Number one skill, according to me, is identifying businesses. धंधा करने को पता होना चाहिए. अगर कोई हलवाई की दुकान का बेटा, if he's seen his father run a business and sat on the galla and knows what expenses are, खर्चा कितना है, फिक्स्ड इनकम कितना है, एसेट कितना है, मेरे को देना कितना है कस्टमर को, वो अगर आपको समझ में आता है ना, that's the prime thing which is important according to me for equity research, which is understanding the business more than anything else.
Got it. In other than like, let's say in the skill set itself, like reading and etc., are there any, like, understanding the business is fine, reading is fine. Other than that, as a person, do you have to be a certain way to, I don't know, excel in this particular industry, or like any values? Like, I know you said hardworking, I know you said you have to like reading, but like, is there any other criteria that you personally look at? Okay, if he wants to get into the industry, this is something he will have. I'm just trying to think what things I could stumble upon that could be a barrier for me, that maybe I'll have to work on and be like, yeah.
You just have to be hungry. You have to be good at reading. And you have to be nice with people, which I'm sure you are, which is an essential quality for any job, not just for equity. So if you have these three things, you will get it for sure. Or no, maybe if you really want to. So sorry, we were talking about, what was your question?
I just wanted to know maybe if there's any unexpected things in the industry that I might struggle with. So like, I know you said, you answered by saying you have to be a good person, you have to like, working in an environment, you will be dealing with other groups, other people, so you have to be friendly, you have to know how to read, you have to be hardworking, you have to love reading, hardworking, and you have to be a good person to work with.
Yes, and one more skill, assuming this question is for you and everybody who's, is wanting a good job, your first and foremost responsibility is making sure that your superior's life is easier. The person that you're working for, if you're making his job easier, no, you've done your job. So whatever that entails, if you're making your senior's life easier by going the extra mile, by making a presentation that you hate to make, right, it will take you a long way. You don't have to do it forever, but it will take you a long way, right? If somebody makes my life easier, no, today, for example, I want to go to some place, I'm extremely stuck in work, I need somebody to book tickets for me, right? Which is a menial job, which is not something that I've hired my guys for. But if somebody does that for me, it makes my life easier, right? So make your superior's life easier. That's rule number one, and I heard this rule number two. So if you work 100% for your job, meaning 100% for your superior to make his life easier, and do the 50% extra, so that if you get the opportunity to do something that he is doing today, you're at it. Right? I hope that makes sense. But otherwise, from a technical perspective, not so much, right? Um, if you are looking to get a job in equity research and if you don't have a job, typically the interview will be engaging if you're pitching an idea, right? If you're explaining about a business, if you're talking about the fundamentals about the business, irrespective if you talk about valuations or not, if you're talking about valuations, even better. ये सब कब होगा if you've done the process of research for 4 5 times, right? You've picked up a balance sheet, you've read 4 5 balance sheets of a company without a job requiring you to do so, right? If you've done the relay that you're doing at a job before actually getting one, that will help you a lot with your interview.
I I think this is super naive or like even super pessimistic of me. I probably shouldn't say it, but I'll say it anyway. I always thought doing that would maybe be more valued abroad than in India for some reason. For some reason, it comes to my mind like they focus, like, like you said, you don't have a degree, you don't have CFA, you have experience. And then I have this gut feeling, which might be completely wrong, but I feel like even if I do all the hard work, I'm oversharing here. Even if I do all the hard work, let's say I come up with research reports and I'm like, yeah, I've done this work in the interview, but they'll be like, you've done this, but you don't have any experience in the industry. Is that just
No,
no?
no, for sure, 100%. In fact, everyone whom I've helped interview, every interview that I have given, and every interview that I have taken, the degree does not come out.
Okay.
ठीक है. When you're talking about a person and when you're casually asking, okay, what's your background, education, वगैरह वगैरह, then the degree comes up. As soon as, especially for equity research, once you start talking about ideas and businesses, everything is forgiven and foregone.
Perfect.
Right. If you're presenting an idea with 100% conviction, there's no way somebody can turn you down. It's not possible.
Okay. That's good to know. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
But for some reason, I just felt like they would be like, look at your CV, or you don't have any experience in this industry. Although you've come up with research reports, sorry, we'll pick the other guy who has.
Nope. Nope. That would be there. So, for example, if I hire a research analyst, right, apart from regulatory requirements, I would prefer somebody who's done the job before, right, who knows how to get in touch with the management, who knows what questions to ask to the management, who knows how to analyze a business, meaning who spent a couple of years in the business. I would prefer somebody like that.
Wow.
There's no lie in it. But if somebody shows enough hunger and conviction about what they're doing, I'd be more than happy to onboard the individual. For sure.
That answers
Yep.
like one of my major questions. Other than that, we discussed Deepak Fertilizers and how I think that was one of your best investments yet.
No. We've had investments which are in return terms far better than that.
Which one would that be? How did you come across it? Like,
So okay, so in my investments, after Plus91 started, right?
yeah.
Probably GPT Infra would be one of our big winners. There would be a few others. But if you really ask me what would be big winners for me, there would be something that I would have researched in 2016, 17, 18, 19. You don't make multi-baggers in one cycle.
Yeah.
You need 2 cycles for a multi-bagger.
And I believe you said one cycle is 8 years, like in general.
Now it's gotten shorter. Now I would believe one cycle is probably 5 years.
Okay.
But again, ऐसा कोई definition नहीं है. This is just like historical trends. Right, so 2015 to 2020 was one cycle when things picked up and slowed down. Then COVID was the time when things, 2020 se then it slowed down and now it's picked up and now it's again plateaued a little. So I think 5 years is a cycle, but so 2016 we looked at Make Money Organics, which is now a 40-50 bagger. We've looked at Polymedicure, which is now a 30 bagger. And I have research reports on this, right? So it's not looked at, meaning I have not looked at. We've written research reports on these companies We've looked at Raj Ratan Global Wires, which was a 40 bagger. We looked at Bombay Stock Exchange in my job after it at Keynote, uh, uh, which is a 100 bagger or a 50 bagger. I don't know.
Yeah.
But essentially, it takes a decade for you to make wealth out of a business. It does not happen overnight. It does not happen in 3 years. You will make this. If you've doubled your money in 3 years, according to me, you should be happy.
Mm.
You should be happy if you've doubled your money in 3 years in a business idea. If you really want to make wealth out of it, sit with it for 10 years. That will create magic for you.
That's true. Nice to know. So we talked about one of your, not one, many of your best investments and how you set the timeline for them. Is there a one that's like the worst one that you invested until now where you went wrong?
Oh, many.
Yeah.
The most recent one, I would not like to name the company because खराब क्यों बोले किसी के बारे में. But yeah, we've recently written a note about it also. We've exited the business at a loss. It was not a detrimental loss. It was not something that pulled down our portfolios in any way. But we lost meaningful money on that idea, meaning the drawdown on that particular individual stock was big enough. If that had not been, my portfolio would have been even far better. Right?
What do you think went wrong there?
The biggest mistake, which often is not a mistake, is being too early in the stock. There is an affinity which is common in all research guys, which is common with me also. We like to invest in ideas that are not working or businesses that are not doing well. Because when a business is not doing well, the valuation is suppressed. The earnings are also suppressed. Right? So you are probably getting something at 10 P when the earnings are depressed. Right? When the business cycle turns, your earnings will become whatever 2, 3x, multiple will become 20x. So you get a 6, 7, 8 bagger in 3 years. Right? If that happens, which is not very, very often and very, very frequent, but that happens. So you want to buy into businesses which are not doing well. And more often than not, I have been wrong when those businesses fail to turn. And there have been many such businesses. Now that is a combination on wrong capital allocation that a particular promoter has done. Plus they are not in a good business cycle, meaning everybody in the industry is struggling. If they have high debt on their books, if the promoter is not ethical enough, one or a multiple or a combination of these factors will lead to a losing business idea. देखो अगर business cycle अच्छा होता है ना, if the industry is doing bad, no, then everything is forgiven. ठीक है, even a chore is Mahatma Gandhi, right? Even a bad promoter is a visionary guy in a good sector. Every defense company उसको गाली देते थे लोग. 2014, 15, 16 में everybody used to say कि this PSU bugger who is running the business is a good for nothing guy, he doesn't know his shit. Today they are visionaries, all of them. So a good business cycle will forgive everything. ठीक है, तो when you are speaking about people or companies, it's all relative. ठीक है, but yeah, according to me, the mistakes that I have done is, and those mistakes will keep on happening because that is the process. You want to make big money, you have to take bigger risks. If you want to get onto a cycle or an industry that's already doing well, then according to me, there's only so much mileage because everything is cyclical, boss. Everything is cyclical in life. Nothing lasts forever. FMCGs, no, prime example, right? Asian Paints, Nestle, Hindustan Unilever, they've given nothing. They were darlings of the stock market for decades, right? Everything turns. So if you're getting on to, okay, that's a multi-decade trend. For example, HDFC, Radhakrishnan Dawani said that you buy expensive things, good things are expensive, right? 1997 के बाद 20 years you had a good cycle. That's a cycle still, right? It's a 20-year cycle that you rode on. So I'm not saying every cycle will be a 5-year cycle, 10-year cycle. But if you're buying something that has done well, then you have to be sure that it will continue to do well for 5, 7, 10 years. For buying something bad, you know, okay, iska time aayega. Right? Cochin Shipyard, nobody wanted to look at the business. In 2016, nobody wanted to look at Cochin Shipyard. They had acquired, I still remember Temba Shipyard NCLT se liya tha for 40 crores. Right? A company that had assets worth 300 crores. And I could be wrong with these numbers, but as far as I remember, these are the numbers. Right? 300 करोड़ का एसेट था, 40 करोड़ में एनसीएलटी से उठाया था, and peanuts valuation. Nobody wanted to buy a coaching shipyard who said who will look at this business. Right? That is the time to buy those businesses. Right? Why did PSUs do well? Because they were insanely cheap. They were all available at 1, 2, 3, 4 PE multiples. So big wealth is made, and this is written in all the books. So I am not the first one who's saying it. When nobody is looking at particular thing, when would nobody look at a particular thing? When it's not making money, when it's not loved by the street, when it's not doing incredibly well.
Yeah.
So if you're an investor for 10 years, you buy things that are not working today, and it's a tough journey. It's tough love, boss, because you will be in an idea which is not working for 3 years. And asset management is an unforgiving industry. If you're not going to perform for 3 years, the best of the people, without me naming them, have been not forgiven. The biggest of the people have been not forgiven in the industry. Right? So your portfolio has to be realistically also a culmination of things which are working, things which are not working. Right? It always has to be a multi-strategy portfolio. I don't think, according to me, you should have a multi-strategy portfolio which will give you a good CAGR year over year, because compounding is the eighth wonder of world, and if compounding has to work for your portfolio, then your portfolio has to grow year over year.
Yes. Yeah. I have a few quick questions about, let's say, are there any industries that you love at the moment? So, like, mainly related to current events versus some that you are like, yeah, for now, I'm going to stay away from these. Any industries or stocks, if you have in mind, like, how do you think?
Sure. So industries, yes. I love the healthcare industry. The valuations are expensive for my liking, but I love the business in general. I think, so I'll tell you how we look at businesses, okay? So a decent promoter plus headroom to grow, meaning he is not a very large player in the industry, plus very good ROCs, right?
So, do you look at mainly mid cap or like smaller, large caps?
Yes. Yeah. We look at small and mid caps. That's our interest area. Not that we don't look at large caps. We look at large caps. Large caps would be about. So sorry, where were we?
Small cap and mid cap is what you like. You like health.
Yeah. So the Trinity, I was saying, the Trinity is good promoters and headroom to grow. So good promoters, headroom to grow, meaning if you are 70% of the market today, then the market has to grow leaps and bounds for you to grow in it. If you are only 1% of the market, then there is huge headroom for you to grow. And very high ROCs. ROC is return on capital employed. Higher the ROC, better would be your sustainable growth rate, because your business keeps on throwing cash which can be reinvested into your own business so that it can grow faster. This is the Trinity that I like. Right? And if you throw in cheap valuations which are rare in today's market, then nothing like it. Right? So yeah, an industry or companies within an industry which are not very large, high ROCs, good promoter, low valuations. This is like the Trinity of outperformance. Like this is coming back to sectors that I like. I really like healthcare. I like renewable energy. I think we are at 100 gigawatts today. We are going to 500 gigawatts. That's our target. I have very little doubts that we reach there. Right. So I love renewable energy as a sector. I think growth is guaranteed for the foreseeable future. Guaranteed जैसा तो कुछ नहीं होता, but I mean, yeah, I think so. Renewable energy back in the day did not make sense because unit economics were not favorable. Right, solar and wind were not cheaper than thermal. Today they are. So unit economics are favorable. They are better ways to generate power, and there is enough government impetus.
Plus, I feel like first we were also like we've grown enough now to focus more on renewable energy.
Correct. Yeah. Maybe I think GDP per capita we are still not that large, but yeah, I mean you're right. I think some of our earlier problems have now been taken care of. So renewable energy, I'm very bullish on. Infrastructure, I'm very bullish on, provided the current government stays. I think we've seen precedents of the current government to be very capex heavy, very infra heavy, versus Congress. And again, I am not a political analyst, or I don't favor any political parties either. But Congress is more heavy. Again, my personal opinion, I could be very wrong. On services, right? So if Congress comes in play, probably IT, pharma, all of these businesses would do slightly better. If BJP is in power, spending money would go more towards manufacturing, infrastructure, all of these things, right? So if provided the current government or the current regime stays on, I think infrastructure will continue to do well. I think money will go in infrastructure. Um, then there's transformers, which again valuations are expensive, but there are a few players which are not very expensive in the transformer side of things.
What would be transformers? Sorry. Yeah.
So transformers is so power is growing, right? Transformers is an ancillary to your power, right?
Got it.
There is a big global macro theme also playing out within the transformers industry. Is the replacement cycle for transformers is 50 years, and US is close to its replacement cycle. So the 50-year-old transformers in the US are now getting replaced. So that's one mega theme on transformers which might play out pretty well according to me. Plus India, so every industry will need a transformer, right? Whether it's any, so a lot of capex is happening, which will in turn be good for all transformers manufacturers. Yeah, I think these are a few themes that I am particularly bullish about, that I like today. Themes that I'm not really gung ho about. I would love to say defense, because the valuations are. I absolutely hate to overpay for anything. I will never overpay for anything, right? So
They inflated.
they're inflated. The valuations are inflated. I don't like defense at all. I think IT has been a laggard for a very, very long time now. Growth has been absent for many IT companies for a very long time now. I'm talking about large IT companies. I'm not talking about, I mean, there are data centers and the likes are still doing well, but I don't think they're core IT per se. Yeah, I mean, auto, again, I'm not very, so I'm not an industries guy, or more than an industries guy, I'm not a pessimist, so I don't dislike things
Yeah.
Even
Even
very
if
often.
industries that you feel are inflated, there will be some stocks which will
For sure.
stand out and might.
For sure. So every industry that we don't have a stock today is where I'm not bullish on, is not an industry that I dislike. But we don't have pharma today in our portfolio. We don't have a single pharma stock. We don't have a single auto stock in our portfolio. We don't have a single IT stock in our portfolio. We don't have hotels. I don't like hospitality as a business, because they are not in our portfolio, and I don't like the valuations today. Tourism we don't have. So yeah, I mean, all these businesses and sectors I don't like. And ऐसा नहीं है कि I don't like them forever. There is no single sector. If one sector, if you were to ask me, that I have a bias against, is textiles, and I am more than open to buying textile stocks also. But I've been reading Warren Buffett letters since 1970s, and 1970s में भी Warren Buffett टेक्सटाइल के बारे में रोना धोना ही करता था. अभी तक वो रोना धोना चालू है. Textiles में वो cyclically upturn आता है, but textile has never created wealth. I think KPR Mills is one guy who's compounded at 36%. I was reading on Twitter today. So there will be outliers in that segment as well. But as the sector as a whole has not been like, I don't know. I've not seen. Okay, Zara. Yeah, so there are always exceptions. I was thinking there's not many
Billionaire.
billionaires or top guys in textile.
I
But
think there are many though. Like in billionaires, there's many.
But that's not textile. I think fashion retail is a separate segment by itself. Right. So the likes of Trends, which have done very well, and I think Cantable Retail, who's done very well in the smaller cap space. That's a different segment rather than you selling cotton and yarn and fiber.
Well,
Right.
one of them recently had an IPO, I think. Some firm in the textile.
Sanatan
Surat.
Textiles, I think.
I'm not too sure. I forgot the name. But
I don't look at IPOs very actively. So,
oh, okay.
yeah, I don't look at. Like I said, I want to see the track record before investing heavily into a company. So, once an IPO hits the market, I would like to see a year or two's performance before.
Go. What are your views on the tariffs that are going on? Like the Trump imposes them, takes them back. Like, how do you think that's gonna affect India and like?
So that's macros again. So the way I am reading it, and now I mean, it's all over social media. It's the fall of the US, right? The debt to GDP of US is unsustainable today.
Yep. And I think Trump and Elon Musk had a few like this morning or last night. Like it's crazy.
He said that Donald Trump was there in the Epstein file. That's
Yeah.
so God knows. But like I'm saying, they're trying really hard for their debt to GDP to come down. I think both Musk and Trump want the same, to cut down expenses and ramp up income or assets or inflate away the debt. There are again multiple ways to skin the sheep. There's not an easy way out. I think US has played their hand and overspent for more than a century, if not decades. And they don't have manufacturing in-house. They don't have a consumption base in-house. There's not a healthy consuming middle income demographic in the US which will support the kind of growth that it needs to for its debt to be repaid or GDP to sustain. That's again my personal view, and again with everything that I say, I reserve the right to be wrong, right? So and I fully, I say, not saying because for a safety net, because I truly believe that nobody knows what tomorrow holds.
Yeah.
Every 100% uncertainty here. The only thing that is certain is uncertainty. So all your views and beliefs will change over time, right? So yeah, I think tariffs is like a last gasp try of the US to probably save its economy. I don't think they will succeed at it. With tariffs or no tariffs. Either way, I think it will be a multipolar world. I don't think US continues to be the largest superpower going ahead.
Who do you think would be the next?
The supporter in me says India.
India.
No, let's not give false expectations. I think China is leaps and bounds ahead of us in all matrices. The only thing that probably holds them back, in my limited purview of how much I have seen the world, is them not being a democracy.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not a democracy, then you're not good for the world, is my belief. Right? If you're an autocracy, if you're a communist, history is not being kind to communism. Right? But again, so history in our limited knowledge. If you take the history of 100 years, yes, democracy has been the most prevalent system in the world. But if you take history of 1,000 years, democracy is probably the least favorable system that's worked. So never know, maybe the world is a communist world going ahead. You never know. But I think democracy is generally good for people rather than communism, socialism, fascism. We've tested all of those things and failed at it. I think democracy is, with its own flaws, a still better system, in my opinion. Democracy with capitalism put together, according to me, is a much successful society system that exists. And India has the right cocktail for it. We don't have the size for it, but we have the right cocktail of us being a democracy, plus a large economy, and with the current government having a global standing and confidence to boss say that we are going to have our own say on a global stage without taking sides. So I'm truly rooting for India.
Yeah.
Right.
And we do have a bias, but
we do have a bias. We do have a bias. Yes. Yes.
yeah. Oh, were you gonna say anything? Did I cut you off? So
No. I think that sums it up. I think China is a much larger economy. I think people are much more. So a country is not about its government, right? It's about the people in the. So you are disciplined. You wake up every day, go for a walk, work out, work for whatever 8, 10, 12 hours a day. Most people in our country don't. If you make 10 lakhs of rupees a year, you are in the top 1% of our country, right? So the people that we see around in Mumbai is not India, right? The India is the one that lives in villages, and I hopefully we get our act together. For example, we are probably going off topic, but we don't have women participation in labor. Women don't work, right? And I'm not saying for money. Chalo, GDP per capita to shit hai because women are not working, right? But how do you compete with a country like China where 100% of their people are working, right? Or unemployment hoga wahan pe, but at least both the sexes are working. And today you still have population in villages which say that women should be in kitchen and women should be not working. How do you compete with half your strength, right? That's not possible. So we have our own drawbacks, I feel.
So one of my cousins who was on the podcast earlier said the same thing because he visited China. And it was like one thing that I would love India to incorporate is like more women like working and like embracing that more than like
Yeah.
yeah. Atlanta.
I think metropolitan cities, it's quite common for women to work. But again, in metro cities, what is the percentage of women that are working? I think 16%. If
I wouldn't know the statistics, but
it's incredibly low when you compare it to a country like China. How do you compete to somebody if you want to become a global superpower? How do you compete with 50% of your population? That's not possible.
yeah. Overall, I think current events have been covered pretty well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've learned a lot. I just want to ask one last question with regards to the industry, and then I want to transition into you again,
Sure.
as a person. The one last question is basically how did Plus91 come about? When did you feel like now is a good time? I want to. You've always been confident, I feel like, but like that step that I know I'm gonna start this firm now. And yeah, like what was the process?
When I had covered my own expense, when you have, so again, I'm fortunate, I'm lucky that while I was working, I had friends and family would put up money with me, which would cover for my annual income, or at least most parts of it. I think anybody who's wanting to start a business should take the leap of faith. I don't think you should wait for it. But in our industry, you should wait for it. When you want to manage somebody else's money, when you want to recommend or advise on somebody else's capital, you better make sure that you've made all the mistakes possible with your own money first. So I've made ample of mistakes with my own money, right? So I was confident. Plus, I was on the buy side advising for large institutions on how to manage their capital for a long time. 2016, I was sell side research. 2018ish, I transitioned to the buy side. And so I've been in the buy side for good 7-8 years, managing money for other people, seen a couple of cycles, seen the COVID, lost my own money way before COVID. So COVID mein I had zero panic. I was matured. I would feel in my own personal perspective, I was matured during COVID. I had zero panic. I did not sell a single share in COVID. So I knew that I worked incredibly hard during my career also. But yeah, I mean, for anybody who's wanting to start their own business, I think if you're covering 60, 70, 80% of whatever you're making annually on your job, then it's practically a no-brainer for you to not switch full-time to your own business.
Just to clarify, What do you? I'm just. So did you invest everything that you were earning? Was that how it was?
50%.
Okay. So 50% of what?
50% is the rule. Whatever. And a lot of people give me excuse, oh, my salary is not enough. If your salary is 10,000, you save 5,000. You invest 5,000. Your salary is 10 lakhs, you save 5 lakhs. Does not matter. It's hard, life is hard. And that's not been hard for me. So I will not put myself in other people's shoes. I understand you have responsibilities for you. If you have a 50,000 paycheck, invest 25,000. No excuses. It is difficult for your first 3, 4, 5 years. Life becomes much simpler if you, at least 50%, I'm saying. If you can do higher. If you don't have responsibilities at home, if you're not the one who's contributing to your household expenses completely, do more. After first 5 years, life gets simpler if you're saving delusion.
So you invested 50% and you built up the capital, and then you started Plus91. Like, I'm just trying to understand. When you said when you're making 60 to 70%
60 to 70% of my
your
annual
income.
salary.
Okay.
While I was working,
Yeah.
if you are, for ease of calculation, assume making 10 lakhs of rupees.
Okay.
If you started managing money for some of your friends or family, if you've gathered enough capital which would make 6 lakhs, 7 lakhs, 8 lakhs of rupees a year, then you know that your expense is taken care of, your salary is taken care of.
Okay.
Then you grow, then you hire people.
Okay. That clarifies a lot.
Yeah.
Do you think it's realistic for me to think that if I stay in the industry for, let's say, 5 to 10 years, I could also be independent? Like,
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. See, I'm saying, Nandan, I had a word with a fund which was started by a 19-year-old guy today, and they have amassed 800,000 crores. I met a guy in Bangalore who's 23, 24 years old and is managing 300 crores of capital. So today we have a lot of young, I don't know if that's the right thing. I would not recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I undermine their capacity, because I think they lack the experience. And maybe they are intellectually, I'm sure they are intellectually more capable than I am or I was at that point in or that age. But you can't make mistakes on somebody else's money. That's ethics 101. Yeah. If you've not lost your, how can a 23-year-old guy lose his own money? He's not made his own money to lose his own money. Right? You are going to lose money. That will define your character in our industry. And you're not going to lose money once, you are going to lose money over and over and over again. Right? Its investments, markets are going to go down over and over again. How you behave when market goes down defines your character. I would highly doubt a person who's 23, 24, who's never lost money and loses money for the first time is going to be in his sanity to take the right decisions. You need to lose money 2, 3, 4 times to be okay with losing money.
Yeah. I think we've covered a lot about finance and majority of my questions. I'll always have questions. I'll always reach out to you.
For sure, anytime.
But yeah, now I would like to finally transition to you as a person. Are you happy at the moment?
Yeah, I'm very happy. I'm very, very happy.
Has that always been the case? Or now do you feel like have you found the key to happiness? Like, do you know what that would be?
I have always been a happy person. So, life has been kind. Of late, I have started to realize a lot of things which I had, which is a privilege that a lot of people did not have, do not have, and will not have. And I practically have zero reasons to be sad. Right? I had a good education. I had good non-abusive parents. And while I'm laughing about it, it's a tough spot for a kid who does not. Right?
No disabilities.
I had wonderful people to work with. No disabilities. I had incredible people that I've worked with throughout my career. Incredible. I couldn't praise them enough. Right? Incredible people who've helped me become the person that I am today. right? Uh, so yeah, generally also I was always a happy person. मतलब ऐसा I have I don't think one should be depressed. I've seen people who are depressed, and I sympathize with them, and I can't understand how their brains are wired. But I have never been depressed or even close to it. And bad things have happened, right? There have been heartaches and whatnot. But that's not a reason for you to get depressed. That's not a reason for me to get depressed. So I've always been I've been a happy person in general. I've been satisfied, not satisfied, but I've been really grateful for everything that I've had throughout my life. I have never cribbed about, oh, I don't have a certain thing. मेरे पास ये नहीं है. I don't have a shiny car, which I mean, I was fortunate enough for everything in life here. So I mean, there's no reason for me to not be happy.
Would you say there's a key to happiness?
Yes.
About that, mate.
Yes. The key to happiness, according to me, and I don't know if there's a key to happiness, one key which solves everybody's problems, but I feel people who are not happy today should read the Bhagavad Gita. I don't say this lightly. I think it has a lot of goods for you to have a perspective towards life of how you should see life as, of what life means in the first place, of how insignificant your birth and death in the grand scheme of universe is. Right. So once you see things in that light, I think there'll be lesser reason for you to feel sad. I don't know if that's the key to happiness, but there'll be lesser reasons for you to feel sad for sure.
Yeah. Got it. And what would you say the meaning of life is to you? Why are we here?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't believe in legacy.
Yeah.
I think Chamath said it beautifully that I for sure don't want to have legacy because the greater mass of legacy is covered with people who've done wrong more than right. Right. So
That's true.
I don't know if I want to have a legacy for 2, 3, 400, 500 years. I'm not working for legacy. I think I am here to do my job in the most unattached manner possible, meaning unattached to the outcome of the job that I'm doing, and try and do good to people around me. That's not just family, for sure, my family, but people I'm working with, people who work with me, for me, the general society who's around us. And I don't want to be like a humanitarian either. So why are we here? I don't know. Probably you're just born, you do your stuff and you die. Probably you're here for nothing. Probably you matter for nothing. You account for nothing. Probably I account for nothing. I'm okay with it. I am absolutely okay with it.
Got it. Where do you want to see yourself, like down the line now, 5 to 10 years, let's say? What do you see life as? What's your ideal life if you had to plan it out? Right.
I don't know, boss. I don't know because so I am big on planning like you, right? So I plan and I stick to my plan. Yeah. I am consistent. If I decide something, then I do it. But I don't decide for 10 years in advance. Matlab, where do I see myself 10 years later? I don't know. I'm happy today. So probably if I am doing the same things today that I'm doing 10 years later and I'm happy and content with it, why not?
I was going to say that. Maybe right now is what your ideal life is.
Yeah, right now is my ideal life. And my ideal life was my ideal life 2 years back also. My ideal life was my ideal life 4 years back also. I was very happy with the things that I was doing at that point in time. But for example, I decided 2 years back that I will fast on Ekadashi. Yeah, I am doing today. I'll make it a point that I will fast at Ekadashi. I will not eat anything. right? There have been instances when I'm big for dessert, so I'll eat a dessert at night.
Yeah.
Not out of craving, but just because I want to, right? I decided I will work out, right? The only thing that probably you would ask me about it, the only thing that I regret in my life is I did not start working out earlier in my life. That's the only thing, which is not a big regret any which ways. But if I had to change one thing, that would be the thing. I would start working out or some sport which is at a professional level at a much earlier age, which I did not get to do. But yeah, 10 years later, maybe I want to travel 6 times a year. Maybe that's what makes me happy, and I'll do it if I'm doing what I want to do. So I think happiness for me is to do the things that you want to do, when you want to do, and the people you want to do with. If you have the freedom to do these three things, then you'll be happy irrespective.
100%. And maybe down the line it'll be kids.
For sure.
These growing.
For sure.
Yeah. Overall, I feel like it's been a great podcast. Like, I'm super happy to have you. And like, mainly a lot of my questions have been answered. It's also the 10th episode. So it's a big one for me. And I'm glad it was you who's come here as the guest who's agreed on. Because I had a lot of curiosities, especially in this industry. And I think you knew that already. And you've given me a lot of perspective and answers, which probably I wouldn't have had even if I spent months or years like just browsing the internet. But it's good to have someone like you here.
But so I loved conversing with you, and I always say this. I look at life in a certain way, and I try to help with all good intentions to people who come and ask me help. तो नहीं मतलब I'm not like super big or ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, but I try to share my experiences and try to give the better part of it. But acknowledge the fact that there are multiple ways to skin the sheep. You could do the exact opposite of what I've said and reach to a path which could be better, right? So acknowledge the fact that there are a billion permutations and combinations in the universe, and there is no one set path. The things that I've told you today are the ones which are most relevant in my experience, right? You could be drinking 6 hours a day and playing casino and be extremely lucky and be a billionaire for all you know. Not an ideal way to live your life, but I am saying have your own experiences. Listen and take perspective from everyone. But have your own life and have fun at it.
For sure. But yeah, glad you could be a part of it. If you want to leave the people a message, because I'm sure many people like me are also learning and are thankful that you've been here.
No, super. I'm more than accessible. Usually I'm open to talk to if anybody wants to reach out. I write newsletters, Substacks, to try and share.
You want to plug them in so people can...
Oh yeah, so Parth Kotak Substack is something that you can just go on and subscribe to. Newsletters is for our clients only, but if you drop in your email IDs, I'd be more than happy for me to sending our newsletters to you free of cost. I mean, we don't charge anything for our newsletters. So yeah, and any other help, collaborations required in any form or matter, more than happy.
More than happy. Thank you so much.
Loved it. Love you.